Welcome to today. We have a great guest with us. All right. Good afternoon, morning, wherever you are, everyone. I'm Katie. I'm the Educational Content
Welcome
Manager
to
here at
today. We have a
Creator.
great guest with us.
And we have a great guest today. Our guest is Debbie Tenenbaum. She is a school-based technology specialist and educational tech consultant. Debbie, you want to add anything else?
No, I'm just really excited to be here today to share one of my most favorite things, which is math and tech tools.
Yeah, and we are very excited. We haven't had someone talking about math and book creator in quite a while, but we know and we personally love the two mashed together. So we're really excited to hear your ideas on using the two together. So I'm just going to pass it off to you. And those of you who are here joining us today, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I'll go them to Debbie as we go. But we're all very happy to have you guys here today.
And it's so exciting seeing all the people where all the people from the chat are coming in. So that's one of the things I love about this is that technology helps us no matter where we are. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so we can get started since I want to make best use of our time. Can we see my screen okay? Perfect. So welcome to Tech Up the Math for elementary learners. If any of you have had prior experiences with me, you know that elementary is kind of my jam. And I am very, very excited about helping our students to become better digital learners and creators. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I'm Debbie Tannenbaum. You can find me at Tannenbaum Tech on pretty much all social media. And just to give you a little bit of an introduction about me, I am super proud as of this past June to be an ISTE 20 to watch. I'm also an ISTE certified educator, a VISTE certified coach, and I have written one book. I'm working on book number 2 and contributed to one. So, and I'm an ASCD and ISTE community leader. So we're going to do 3 things in the next 27 minutes or so. First of all, I'm going to share with you my framework, which is called Tech Up the Math. Then from there, I'm going to share with you lots of examples, and then we're going to finish up talking about some connections and concepts that you are making to our content today. So the first thing I would love for you to do, if you're watching and you're in the Zoom right now, can you go ahead? We're going to use a thinking routine from Project Zero in the chat. And I want to get ground us before we start. What is a word, a phrase, or a sentence that comes to your mind when you think about integrating technology with math? So take a minute or two now to ground our learning and think about what words come to your mind. Engagement, I love it. Necessary, engagement, collaboration. These are great words. Interactive, creation, differentiation. Show your thinking. Oh, these are such good words. I love them. Empathy, enhancing instruction, out of the box thinking. Awesome. I love all of those. Abstract. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to tech up the math. Now, I work in Virginia, and in Virginia, as most states, we've been kind of really busy the past couple of years with this new thing called science of reading. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're familiar with that idea. So as a tech coach, I found that when I asked my teachers how I could help them, they weren't interested in me coming in to do anything with reading. But math was something they were interested in. And so I started to notice over the last 5 years that there were certain characteristics that I was noticing when I was working with my teachers in math, and they're my BMI. I started writing about it a couple of years ago. It ended up becoming a session, and now it's something that I'm using all the time with my teachers. So let's go through what BMI is before we actually go through some examples. So V is for visualize. I was just actually talking about this morning with some 3rd graders. I was saying to them, how does technology sometimes help us? And they were like, well, it helps us to see the math. And that's exactly what visualize is going to talk about. We're also going to talk about multimodal. How does it let us share more than one way, building in on that whole idea of universal design for learning? And then lastly, we're going to talk about how it can build in interaction. So let's go a little deeper into each of these. So like I said, visualize. Is the technology letting us see the math in a way that you couldn't see it without the technology? And I'm going to show you a couple of examples with that today. Really important. If you can see it in the exact same way without the technology, it's not a valid use. Our second one, does the tech tool offer us more than one way to share our thinking? Are we just sharing by using text? Are we sharing just by using our voice? Are we sharing by drawing? All of those are ideas that we're going to be looking at during this webinar. And then the last one is my favorite because it's the one that I find educators either are most fearful of or don't know how to approach. Does the tech tool empower our students to interact with their classmates' thinking? In Virginia, where I teach, we are spending a lot of time now talking about math tasks and building math discourse. The activities I'm going to show you help do some of that work, even for our youngest learners. So, as an ISTE certified educator, it wouldn't make sense if I didn't mention those standards. So I'm just going to kind of connect them to what we just talked about. When we visualize, we're using that computational thinking. We're developing and using strategies that help leverage the power of technology to develop and test solutions. Really, really powerful. As a multimodal, we're giving them more than one way to share. We're letting them pick the best ways to meet their goals, and you'll see that as well in here. And then the last one is that global collaborator. Now, I feel like a lot of times people think that means you're Skyping with a scientist, and that is not at all true. When we're being a global collaborator in a kindergarten classroom, we're starting by sharing our ideas. So don't feel overwhelmed. We're going to take this nice and slow, but we're going to give our students the ability to interact with each other's math thinking. Now, I'm in a school that is 40% language minority and 25% English language learners or multilingual learners. So this is also really important to me. When we do visualization, it gives our students visual supports that make the language of math more comprehensible. I was in a third grade class today, and we were learning about the word product. Product's a word that has multiple meanings, things like that. When we use multimodal, we give our kids lots of different ways to share their thinking. I was in a first grade class, and I'm going to show you one of that activity later today. And my students had a choice of picking, did they want to share their answer with their voice, with video, with text, or using a paint tool? Gives them lots of options. And then that interaction helps them work out those problems in English and builds that vocabulary, because our academic vocabulary comes much later after our conversational. But it ultimately benefits all of our learners. The last thing I'm going to share before I get into some of my fun examples is the National Council of Teaching for Mathematics. They say that an excellent mathematics program not just integrates tools, but also technology. And we use them to make sense of mathematical ideas, to reason mathematically, and communicate thinking. So I always start when I share this with this information, because we're not just using tech tools for the purpose of using tech tools. We're using tech tools for these types of reasons. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dig into some of these. So I have them linked into our presentation, but I'm also going to share with you. I'm actually going to move out for a minute. I'm going to share with you, and Katie, I'm sure am I sharing the link to the book, or are you?
I'll take care of that.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you, not what I wanted to do. Let's go back to the library. The book that we're going to really dig deep into today. And this is our Tech Up the Math for Elementary Learners book. When you get this book that Katie's going to share with you, you're going to see that there are examples for each of these, for visualize, for multimodal, and for interaction. You're also going to notice that what we just went over is at the beginning of the book. So you have that teacher background if you didn't get everything I just went over in the last 10 minutes. And then you're going to start to see more information about each of these. So when we're talking about that visualization, Book Creator has added so many amazing tools. If you haven't checked them out yet, under media and templates, there's so many great math ones. Of course, it's going to be slow for me now. So if you go under math and graphic organizers, there's a lot of really great things. There's a hundreds chart here. You can kind of see, oh, it didn't go all the way down for me. There we go. Base 10 frames, even base 10 blocks. So there's here, I just took shapes and made Cuisinart rods. So lots of really great resources. So let's look at some of those resources. This is actually the one that I did with kindergartners this week. So we tried it out and they were amazing. And you'll see that little visualize icon to kind of remind you what it's for. So this one's really simple. They're counting each set of objects and they're using one of the following tools to name its value. So if you've seen me present before, you know I am super big into icons. I'm just going to kind of flip through this so you can see what it looks like. And in this one, it's going through our numbers 1 through 15. Yesterday, I modified it a little bit to go to 1 to 10 because that's where our students were at right now. But they got the opportunity to look and decide, are they going to use the pen, the microphone, the text tool, or video? And it was super interesting to watch them all pick different things. We had some kids who were video whizzes. We had some kids who loved the microphone. So that's just one example. And I'm going through these rather quickly because I just want you to be able to see what is in the book. $15 is a lot. Let's actually move ahead so you can see the second one. So our second one here is called painting numbers. If you can't tell, I love working with my littles. In this one, they're representing or showing each number either using an image, shapes, pen, or icons. So this is kind of the opposite of what we did in that first one. Now they're able to pick. If you haven't played around with Book Creator recently, just a heads up, don't forget that there are shapes and icons now in media. Super important to kind of consider. But they're doing the same type of thing, but now they're representing. So they're doing that counting where they're actually doing some creation. The next thing we're going to talk about is a little bit older kids. Thank you, Stormy. This is called Two Ways Are Better Than One. This is one of my favorite activities for second graders. Just in all transparency, all of these are stacked images so the students can build these numbers in two different ways. A lot of times we show them how to do 4 10s and 5 1s and we leave it at that. But 45 could also be 3 10s and 15 1s. And so this is an activity that's based on our standards that our students have to do. And this gives them that hands-on practice. Hands-on practice where it isn't necessarily everybody taking out that base 10 blocks. It could be that we have them do it with the manipulatives first, and then we move to, this is the way to get to that abstract. Just to show you a few of those. A half an hour, it's always so fast. So let's talk a little bit about that interaction. I'm going to scroll down, and like I said, you'll get all of these resources if you haven't already grabbed them from the chat. I love the fact that Book Creator has so many different ways to share thinking. We can do audio, we can do images, we can do pens, we can do text, we can do audio. All really great ways, and we're building in that universal design for learning. And I just saw somebody asking about an intermediate example. Most of my examples today are primary, but all of these things work regardless. This is a magnitude example. This is a first grade, and they're trying to pick which one is the most appropriate. Once again, they can select which one makes the most sense, and then they have choices to share their thinking. Instructions on every page, trying to make it as clear as possible for our students. When we're looking at it this way, we're giving them that multimodal approach. Okay. This one I've done in grades 1 through 3. So I'm going to just share this. This is another one with that multimodal. This is one of my favorite activities because it's really adjustable. You can change these problems to anything. They're reading a word problem or they can listen to it. And then they're using either the online manipulative or the toolbox. Everything up here are images that are stacked on top of each other, that are stacked images. And then the ones below are referring to where they can go. So it gives our students, and I said, with those stacked images, gives them lots of choices. And I love the fact that my students, if they need to, can grab that tens frame. The last category I'm going to share with you right now is the idea of interaction. This is my favorite thing. When you have Premium Book Reader, you have the ability to do interactive activities. This gives our students the opportunity to interact with each other. And this is something I've been sharing a lot about. And I just wrote an article for Edutopia. It's also part of the book I'm working on right now. We have to give our students that ability. And this is called a color-coded collaboration. So rather than me trying to explain it, I'm going to just show it to you. So this is called Shape Monsters. I've done this with various grade levels. It's a great way to either review shapes or do shapes. It says kindergarten here, but I've used it even older than that. Every page, let me go back for a minute, that is yellow is instruction. Oops, I went too far. Sometimes I'll even include a video on these pages. This example does not have one. Some kids are on team red, some kids are on team blue. Once again, I'm using the idea of those stacked images. Students are moving them and making a shape. Once they've made that shape, let's go. They're going to get a chance to look at their partner shape. And they're counting. And then once again, there's that multimodal. They can use the pen, they can use text, they could make a video, or they could use the microphone, and they're counting. This is the first collaboration activity I do because it has them interacting with each other, but at a very low risk. When they do this, I have their teams on the board, and we use the same teams for multiple activities to really build that.
Debbie,
Yeah.
you still want to be sharing your screen?
Yes.
You stopped
Am I
sharing.
not sharing?
It just stopped recently.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. I don't know when it stopped.
Yeah.
I apologize. Can you see it now? Can you see it now?
No.
That's so strange.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're good. We're
Okay.
good.
Okay, good. I'm so sorry about that.
No, I think that was sorry.
And this color coding system that I'm sharing with you is something I do throughout until my kids learn how to respect each other's digital space. So that just gives you one example. I have a lot more than that, but just sharing one today. This is a second grade example here, and this is a game called Play 50, Make 50, excuse me. And this game I took from our curriculum and I just brought it into Book Creator. You'll see once again, I'm using those color coded. Two kids are playing, they roll a die. They have to decide where to put that number in there. It looks like I have a stray zero hanging out. And they just place those numbers where you want them to go and decide where they want it to go. So that's that one. And you get the opportunity. Let's just go to undo to make that easier. They get the opportunity to really play with that place value with different rounds. This also gives them accountability because they get to see lots of things. So I know I went through that rather quickly, and I'm very transparent, and I am more than happy to share my email, and I'll share it again at the end to make sure that if you have any questions, I'm always willing to take time to meet with you because this is something I'm super passionate about. But I did promise Katie a few minutes to do some Q&A, so I'm going to give Katie that ability.
Yeah, we had a question from Caroline, and she wanted to know, does each student get their very own copy of their book?
So that's a great question. If we're doing something that isn't a collaboration activity, then I use the assignment feature. If we're doing an interactive activity, then I pre-assign the students using the, all of a sudden my words are failing me, the collaboration feature.
Yep. Do you maybe
Um,
show them what those are in case they're not familiar? Is that, do you have a library you can
so
jump in?
say that one more time.
Do you have a library you could jump in to show them assign versus collaborate real quick? Or I could?
Let me see if it's going to let me do that. Let me go into an example. I think it should go back. Um, so I can actually get that. So when you are here, there's that collaborate button right there. There's nobody else in this library, but you can kind of just see that. And instead of picking everyone, right now I don't have everyone, you can pick the students who you want to assign to. And I see Caroline also asking about the assignment feature. It's one of my new favorite things. Now, when you want to give somebody, you want to share, it's not going to let me do it in this one. And I'm not in my student account. You can actually now assign using the share feature, so each student gets an individual copy of their book. So I love it. The one thing I will say, and then Katie, if you know a workaround, please let me know, is that it makes 2 copies of the book. So you have to make sure they're clicking on the one with the pencil. Or is
Ah,
that just something that happens to me?
well, that may just happen. Like, they're gonna see your copy, and that's so
Yeah,
just seeing that copy. But that's why. So
got
yeah,
it.
click on the one with the pencil. That's their copy.
Yeah, and so I've really had to be explicit with that, but the kids have really been enjoying it. And if you haven't tried their, I think they're called Getting to Know Your Book Creator and Me projects for the different grade levels. That's how I start my kids on Book Creator. It is such a great way to get them started, and it really builds that student agency.
All right. Any other questions? I don't see any that we've missed.
Okay, well, do you mind if I just take over one more time and just
Ah,
have us wrap up?
feels great. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so oh, let's the last thing I'm going to ask you to do before we kind of finish things up is I want you to think about a connection you might have made or to today's webinar or a concept you want to hold on to. And I'd love for you to share them in the chat as I share some contact information with you. So go ahead right now and share that information in the chat. I'd love to hear what really resonated with you. This is another thinking routine or part of one. It's called the 4 C's. You can tell I really like thinking routines. I'm going to give you a minute or two to do that. Oh, I love these.
Yeah.
UGL and Book Creator, adding math games. That's one thing. And I'm in Virginia. We have a brand new math curriculum, and there are a lot of games. And I've been finding putting them in a digital tool like Book Creator has been super helpful because it lifts the cognitive load for my teachers of having to create all of these. And sometimes they'll work on one device, but sometimes they can do it together. Yeah, the color coded collaboration is one of my favorite things to share about. Thank you. Lots of great connections here. I really appreciate that. As you're finishing writing your connections, I just want to share that I am more than willing to meet with anyone or talk with anybody. I also do present about this in many places. I'm going to be down in TCEA in February, but I'll also be in Virginia at FITSD and VASCD and a couple other places. Please feel free to reach out to me. This is something I'm super passionate about. And, let me know if there's any way I can support you. I'm more than happy to do that because this is something that is near and true to my heart. And I'm just really grateful that Katie gave me a platform and Book Creator gave me this platform to share today because we don't spend enough time talking about math.
Yeah.
So,
I think you've shared really great ways to make math more accessible, and that makes me always very happy to make, I was a STEM girl before I got into this role. And so any ways we can make STEM more accessible to students makes me really excited. And congratulations, you're going to be a featured speaker at TCEA. I like how you played it.
I'm very excited. Yeah.
So if you
Very
go
excited
there,
about that.
yeah, if you're going
Um,
to TCEA, definitely connect with Debbie there.
and yeah, I've been going to TCEA for the last 4 years, and it's one of my favorite conferences. Nikki, it has nothing to do with the Virginia conferences. Um, and I'm super excited to be able to go down there. And I love all the ideas people are sharing. You've just really made my day. This has been wonderful, but definitely connect with me. Nikki,
Well,
maybe I'll see you there.
yeah, it will be my first time attending TCEA, so I'll have to get all the pro tips from you off chat later.
It is absolutely one of my favorites. I know a lot of people like other conferences, but it's a big conference with a really small feel, and nobody else does it like they do.
Aw.
So,
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today. Debbie, you've been a great guest. I think people have got some really actionable things that they can try with their younger students with math and book creator. Um, I shared the link to Debbie's book. We're also going to be adding that to our Discover library, so you'll be able to find that there. I'm also putting in the chat a link to register for our next webinar, which is in 2 weeks, and we'll have Alex Isaacs and Lois Alston on to talk about using Book Creator to communicate with families and communities through newsletters. So if that's something that interests you, join us then. Debbie, any final thoughts?
no, just thank you, everyone. I know sometimes this can be a tough time to do some learning, and the fact that you took some time, during your day, maybe in place of your lunch, to do some learning. I really appreciate it. And please definitely stay connected with me. I know a lot of you whose names I see in the chat, but some of you are new names, and I would love to connect with you as well. Definitely follow me at Tannenbaum Tech on social media so we can continue these connections.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely connect with Debbie and the webinar resource book that I shared. All of her connections are there. And we thank you so much for joining us this week, and we hope you have a great rest of your school day.